It's still spooky season. You know what that means?
Buying bags of candy with no intention of passing them out?
I like the way you think, but no. It's time to talk about another horror game. Remedy Games is probably one of the most unique game developers out there. Well, at least when it comes to stories they craft in their games. I'm talking Max Payne 1 and 2, all the way to Control, which took me by surprise when I played it after years of ignoring their games. But one of the most unique of all is a game that I was reminded about while playing Control and its DLC. After over 10 years, let's finally take a look at Alan Wake. The backlog is real. Whether you're playing on Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, or Steam. And mine has gotten out of hand. I have no self-control, and when I see a deal, I have to grab it. Come with me as I finally tackle my backlog, gaining control one game at a time. Alan Wake is a game that has eluded me since its release. As a fan of Stephen King novels and later on in life Twin Peaks, I was always interested in the story. The idea that a writer's work can come to life and haunt him always had my interest.
The loose sheets of paper were pages from a manuscript entitled Departure. That was the name I planned to use for the next novel I had never gotten started. I was named the author. I hadn't written it. I couldn't remember writing it. In the scene on the page, the hero was attacked by an axe murderer in the woods at night.
I just had one small problem. I didn't have an Xbox 360 when it came out. Sure, I tried to emulate it on various underpowered laptops and PCs I had, but they never worked well and left me trying to play it at choppy low frame rates. Until about 12 years later, when I bought a cheap Xbox One at a Goodwill auction. I finally had means to play my Xbox 360 copy of Alan Wake that I'd picked up at a swap meet for that fabled one day I could play it. And let me tell you, it's something else. You play the titular Alan Wake, who is a world-famous author in the same vein as Stephen King.
Stephen King once wrote that nightmares exist outside of logic.
Who is on vacation to the small town of Bright Falls with his wife, Alice. They go there as a way for them to relax and help Alan get over his writer's block so he can make progress on his new book, Departure. Alan is suffering from severe writer's block and only has the title for his next book set in stone. And with his deadline coming up, he just wants to relax and attempt to mend his relationship, which we later find out is pretty rocky.
What? Now you can't even talk to me?
Well, this morning I was angry because you said you'd be home at midnight and you showed up at 7 a.m. and passed out in mid-sentence. Now I'm over it.
This all goes off the rails when he is noticed by a waitress at a diner as he is trying to pick up the key for his accommodations.
Alan Wake. Oh God, I am your biggest fan. I know people say that all the time, but I really am.
I'm glad to hear that.
The man he is supposed to get the key from isn't there. Instead, Alan is greeted by an older woman dressed in black who explains she is there to give him the key in Stucky's place.
But I have the key for you and instructions on how to get to the lake.
Okay.
I wish you a good stay in my cabin. I'll come by later to check how you've settled in.
He gets the key and directions to a lakeside lodge that definitely wasn't his intended destination. While decompressing at their lakeside lodge, it's revealed that Alice brought a typewriter to this town in hopes to jog him out of his writer's funk, which bothers Alan to say the least, who storms out to clear his head. While he's gone, he hears a scream, and when he rushes back into their room, Alice is gone, seemingly pulled into the lake. Without hesitation, he jumps in after her and wakes up in his car after a crash. The narrative of this story is told through Alan's inner monologues, and the actions surrounding him in the city are all dictated by pages he finds around the town. Pages of his own book, Departure, that he doesn't remember writing. The story of this game is what caught my interest in the first place, all those years ago. It's a really unique and interesting concept. A writer trapped in his own work struggles to alter the course of events as they unfold, and that's really the most I want to say on it because I think of this as a story that should be experienced. I really enjoy the twists and turns it took, even if at times it was hard to follow. The game takes place in a small northwestern town called Bright Falls. Its setting and art style is pretty much a direct influence from Twin Peaks. Bright Falls is a small town where everyone knows everyone and where there really isn't that much crime. Everything about the art direction and style really makes it feel like a real small town. You have log cabins, an old diner, and an old downtown area. The characters you meet along the way are all folks you may run into in a small town. They do a great job of setting the place and the feeling that there is something not quite right in this town. While playing the game, you'll be exploring the woods, farms, and various town locations at night, while fending off the possessed residents that all want you dead. Alan Wake is a third-person action shooter through and through. but the main mechanic is the flashlight you have. It serves as the aiming reticle, but its main function is to dispel the cloak of darkness covering the enemies. All of the enemies in the game are possessed by what's called the Dark Presence, and as a result, they are invulnerable to all damage until the cloak is dispelled by the radiance of your flashlight. You get the standard handgun, shotgun, and rifle, depending on the chapter you're playing through. But you also get a flare gun, which is essential during times you get swarmed by enemies. Shooting one with a flare gun will cause a flashbang of sorts and injure not only the one you aimed at, but the surrounding enemies as well. I thought the combat was fun, and I didn't have too much of an issue with it. Once you're familiar with the flashlight and how enemies take damage, it's a pretty solid shooter, and easy enough to manage your flashlight and battery ammo. Your objective is set at the beginning of each chapter, and you usually go from point A to point B by solving puzzles, overcoming obstacles, and defeating enemies. Each chapter is presented in the form of an episode of a TV show with a recap from the events prior. I like the format, and I think it lent itself to the horror movie Twin Peaksy vibe they were building. As much of a great atmosphere they build with this game, you can't really call it survival horror. And one of the main reasons is because at the beginning of every chapter, you start with a completely different weapon loadout, and none of the ammo you had from the previous chapters carries over to the current one. This was one thing that I didn't really like at the beginning, and I think that's mainly because I thought going into the game it would be more of a survival horror experience where you have to manage your ammo and really gamble on whether or not to kill an enemy. That's not the case here. You either use it or lose it, so don't be shy about using up the ammo. I played the game on its standard difficulty and never really felt strapped for ammo either. It definitely feels like the game wants you to kill all the enemies, so who am I to disagree? I really love this game, and I managed to still enjoy it even after building it up in my head for the 12 years it took me to finally play it. Remedy Games and lead creative director and writer Sam Lake really know how to craft a crazy and unique story that really pulls you in and has you asking questions. Even after beating the game and the story DLC and the Alan Wake DLC for Control, I'm still not 100% sure I know what the hell is going on, and I love that. It's a bit convoluted and confusing, sure, but it's fun to think about and to try to make sense of it. After 13 years, Remedy finally got to make the sequel they've been wanting to make for years, thanks to them buying the IP rights back from Microsoft, who was the original publisher. I've played a little bit of Alan Wake 2 so far, and it's really good, dripping with atmosphere and really creepy so far. And I'm a little over an hour in, so I can't wait to see what the game truly has in store. If Alan Wake has sat on your backlog for over 12 years as it has mine, I say go for it. You have nothing to lose now, and the game is more accessible than ever. Since Remedy owns the licensing rights, they've gone and released a remaster across pretty much every platform available, so there really is no reason not to give it a go. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Hello, my name is what? My name is who? My name is Digga Slim Shady. A writer is trapped in his own work, struggling to alter the course of events.